Meet the most capable CRV Honda has ever dreamed of. The all-new CRV Trail Sport Hybrid. With all-terrain tires and available enhanced traction control, it's built for wherever the day takes you. Heated front seats and a heated steering wheel, ideal for winter drives and crisp early starts. And with generous cargo space, it's ready for big gear and even bigger getaways. The CRV Trail Sport Hybrid. Learn more at honda.com/CRV.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
This MailChimp-verific jingle is brought to you by MailChimp.
MailChimp, your marketing with AI and more. Advanced automations to connect to your store. MailChimp, your marketing and boost your clicks. Multi-channel campaigns now with SMS. That's lit.
MailChimp your marketing today with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-on. Visit MailChimp.com.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. We are the KC Soccer Journal. My name is Cody Bradley. I've got Thad Bell and Daniel Sperry of the Kansas City Star here. Sperry, thank you for joining us this evening.
No problem, gentlemen. Always happy to join given the opportunity.
Yes, the SOB fans will know Sperry from the Keeping Current with Sperry and Carey, as I like to call it. So, yes, good to have you over here. We're going to talk some Sporting KC. They won a game, Daniel, 2-1 over the Colorado Rapids the other night.
They won a road game in Colorado. It's unbelievable. They've never done that since I covered this team. Like I know like a decade, but like in reality, I feel like I've covered this team a long time, not as long as Thad, but like this is the first time I've ever seen that. It's wild.
2014, man, that's the last time.
They said
Incredible.
that on the broadcast, and I was like, that can't be right. They had to get that wrong somewhere.
We were talking about this before the game at media availability on Thursday, and I think Patrick mentioned either Patrick or Robo, one of the Sporting's comms people. We were discussing it, and the fact that I was like, I feel like I only see 0-0 draws in Colorado. Like I've never seen, like I've seen goals. Yes, goals have been scored. There have been some draws, and we were kind of recounting all the scores. And then we brought up the fact that nobody's won since 2014. Pretty shocking.
That is shocking.
Well, not nobody's won. Sporting has not won.
A lot of other teams have won there. A lot of bad Colorado teams over the years. They are one of the teams that Sporting is going to have to be duking it out for here in the middle of the table. So it's a good win, something they needed after dropping some points at home. So this win puts them in 11th place. They have done some work on the table with that. It's looking a lot better. They're at 23 points. Now, technically, for those listening, if you're following along, you're looking at the table. Technically, with quotation marks, Thad, they are only 3 points out of 7th place. Down there in 11th, there are all of those teams in front of them are sitting at 26 points.
Yeah, 4 teams with 26 points.
And I say technically because up there in 7th place is LA, and they have like 4 games in hand because they haven't been playing anything. So they could be all the way up there in 2nd place if they win all of those games. But that's right there. There's a lot to be had here, Daniel Sperry. 3 points out of climbing many spots on this table.
Yeah, and the Houston game kind of goes against them in a way, right? If
I
Houston
know. I
came
was
back and beat
watching.
San Diego in a 17 minutes of second half stoppage time, a absolutely chaotic game down in SoCal. But um, yeah, the playoff push. I think the biggest thing going into like this stretch, and you talk about all these home games, the first half of this stretch. At home, this run, I think it was like five of their next six dating back to the Dallas game were at home. And they needed to pick up points in those games desperately to even have a shot at the playoff picture. And they've picked up 7 points over those first four games, and now the schedule gets a little bit tougher. But they've done it in 6 pointer fashion. Um, you know, they didn't allow RSL to gain on them by coming back and getting the draw last week, and then they get the 6 pointer here against Dallas. They pick up a win against Charlotte, who's absolutely tumbling right now. So they put themselves in a good spot. Now is when it gets really serious of like, can you really hold yourself next to some of these teams like Seattle, who's playing at time of recording, and then New England or not New England, New York City, and it kind of Vancouver's coming up on the schedule a couple of times. I mean, it's going to be a pretty tough July and August here of an opponent. So good for them to pick up points and at least put themselves into the picture.
Thad, were you watching the rest of MLS this weekend the way I was? Because I was locked into that San Diego Houston game. That was a really fun game to watch. And yeah, I was definitely rooting for San Diego in that one.
Yeah, I was watching some just by or watching the table and the scores report, and I had to come down and watch St. Louis lose, and
Oh
then
yeah.
because sometimes I got to hate watch something, right? And then I flipped over to catch the San Diego Houston game, which was, as Sperry said, just nuts, man, and got to watch blood pour out of a nose and all kinds of fun stuff in that game.
So I was just watching MLS 360 bouncing around for those games, but I got excited every time they checked into RSL St. Louis. And did you see that Klaus? So he had that equalizer off a set piece, off a corner kick, and they had another one. He had an even easier chance, a wide open chance to score, and he sent it wide instantly after. It should have been a goal, and he knew it, and it was almost like, oh, I just ruined the entire game. You could see it on his face and his bald head.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say the entire game, just the entire season. How about that? How far down are they now? Just checking.
Just above LA, 15 points.
Can you believe it? Can you believe that you're saying they're barely above LA, given the fact that LA didn't win a game for like the first 15. Now LA is just 3 points off of them. St. Louis had a 13 match winless streak in MLS play that was broken by beating San Jose Earthquakes 2-1 on May 31st. They have since gone on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game winless streak since their third win of the season.
Their new coach bounce is not as good as our new coach bounce.
Is it a new coach bounce for Sporting?
Yeah, the
Does
bounce.
it count? 17 years as an assistant. It's not a. Is it a new coach, Dad?
I know, but it's a really good debate. I think we actually should have this at some point, but we've already had it in probably 27 different ways. He is a different voice. He does do different things than Peter, so it is a difference. And most new coach bounces do come when the interim steps in or the second team guy steps up or the equipment guy steps up or whatever.
St. Louis's interim does have a different voice than Olaf Melberg, but he's not getting different results, that's for sure. Goodness gracious.
He looks like a dad of one of the players just stepped out onto the sideline. That's what he looks like.
Do we know? I mean, like,
it's definitely.
I do think it's funny that they call him the caretaker manager. Like, what? This isn't England. What is he taking care of? Is he taking care of your children? Like, the caretaker manager. Like, is he the undertaker? Like, what? Like, what? There's just so many things that don't make sense. We're in America. He's the interim head coach. That's it.
every team
If you want to be fancy, say interim manager. Fine, but caretaker, get over yourselves. Okay.
every team wants to be a little
British people.
pretentious and do things like England does
Some
or
some more
somewhere
than
else.
others.
Yeah, I mean, they are St. Louis Soccer Club, not football club, so I will give them that.
Power pink.
Sporting KC. So, I do give them at least they went with a soccer club name. So,
Yes. Okay, fine.
yeah.
Sperry, I want to stay right here. We were talking about the new regime with Kerry. You gave us a good rundown of where they stand, how they got here, but I want to hear what you think of the team, what you think of how Kerry is running it. We're in the middle of this rebuild. How is the rebuild going? I don't get your voice here very often, so I just want to hear your general thoughts on the state of the team.
I think they're headed 100% in the right direction. I think they would have headed that way regardless with Peter. Um, they came out of camp saying that Jansen Miller was the best defender in training and like preseason. So I was expecting him to play eventually. He had a rough start, sure, in DC, but obviously you've seen what he's turned into. I think I think eventually he would have been forced to kind of, with the injuries, he would have been forced to play Jansen. He would have been forced to play Jacob Bartlett so far. I think the big thing, though, in like looking at it, is the way that Carey has gone about giving them time. It has been like allowed them to make mistakes, and you hear it too from Jansen. You hear it from Jacob Bartlett, and like their ability to like not have to look over their shoulder at every mistake that they make in a game. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, am I going to get to play again? Like, is my career over? And I think that's something that like, Peter notoriously had a bit of a short leash with younger players, and I think Carey's leash has been longer with them, reasonably longer. Individual momentary mistakes, fixable mistakes are fine. Continued repeated mistakes are not. And I think you've seen that in some of the lineup choices that he's made. When he feels like one guy is hot, he's willing to start him, aka Daniel Shallowy, kind of for a good stretch there over Eric Tommy. Now Eric Tommy's hot and going, and Daniel Shallowy's coming off the bench again. So like I think the choices that he's made as the manager in terms of personnel, managing them, and I think he's getting the best out of this group while also progressing them um, forward. And so I don't, I mean, best case scenario would be that they just turn around and win every single game after firing Peter, but that's never going to be reality in sports. So I think, like, given the situation, given the fact that this this is a rebuild, as much as some people want to admit it or not, it's a rebuild, and this team needs a rebuild to get back competitive. And this has been so far a good first phase of it under Carey, and I think he is helping them get to the next step of this and where they want to be for coming years. But I would be there's more tactical things that I want to see. He talked about being a different team and doing different things and stuff, and I think there's a little bit more tactical fluidity than what we saw in the past in terms of like in-game switching and managing and being willing to change things up on the fly. But at the same time, this team by and large kind of sets up in the same way that they did under Peter, and I would be curious if there are further wrinkles to how he would start the team out from the start that maybe we'll see down the road here as the team continues to progress, or is this something that maybe he's just not quite ready to do because he doesn't have full personnel or something like that. But that's the only like looking at it like this is about as good of a scenario as you can ask for for this team under Zavagtin so far.
With
Bar
this lineup.
with this lineup, bar winning every single game out of a, like this is about as good as it could go.
I do want to just comment on something you said about he's going to add different tactical wrinkles, and he still lines up pretty much the same. He does, but I forget which game it was that he mentioned afterwards that we used 4 or 5 different lineups tonight. I mean, 5 different formations because they just kept switching it as everybody came in and game state changed, and it wasn't necessarily hugely noticeable, but to the trained eye, which coach uh, was able to see that and just keep changing things.
Yeah, and I think that was the Charlotte game. If you're looking back at it, um, they go out and they start out in this 4-3-3, and it was very clear there was two center backs, and then kind of in the hole in between the midfield line and the center back line was Jacob Bartlett, and they were trying to kind of play through him, and they were kind of giving the ball away a lot, and it was not great. Okay, so they flip it. They bring Jacob Bartlett into the back line, and essentially they're playing out of the back with 3-4-2-1 kind of the way it was going at that point. And Manu had dropped deeper, was operating, light, putting the ball over the top. Eric Tommy was kind of tucked in more centrally, but right underneath the striker. Same with Shallowy, and you've got the fullbacks bombing forward. Now you see this 3-4-2-1 kind of a thing going for a little bit there. They get the goals. They have to change out personnel here and there, but they get the goals, and then all of a sudden, they throw in Ian James because they need another body after Joveljic cramps, and they basically go like 5-6 at the back for the
Yeah.
final 2 minutes of stoppage time. So yeah, so there's kind of I'm not saying that there, and that's what I was trying to point out. I think there's tactical fluidity in games, but is there a wrinkle in here where he lines up the team in a 3-4-2-1 or a 4-4-2 or something like that to maybe maximize the personnel that they have that he thinks can get the best result on the day. And I'd be curious if that wrinkle exists.
I think that wrinkle does exist, and I think that we will see a 3 or 5 back line, but it will require 3 center backs to be healthy and in form. And
It's
that
true.
doesn't exist. That hasn't existed for this team really this year. So
I will say
Joaquin, yeah,
Jacob Bartlett plays can play like the strengths of him so far as a defensive midfielder we've seen fit what you kind of want out of the central of the 3 center backs when you do a back three like that. I don't know that without Robert Volader, I don't know that like the left side of that would work. But anyways, that's kind of going deep down a tactical rabbit hole here. But like I think kind of to the point, like right, like Cody, I mean, what were your expectations? I'm going to throw it back to you. What were your expectations, and have they surpassed or underwhelmed?
For the rebuild, I would say the rebuild is going absolutely perfectly so far. And you hit your main point when you were talking about this is the biggest point for me as well. The change of regime, the firing of Vermees has just gotten rid of all of the pressure. And I don't know, yes, Vermees had a shorter leash on younger players, but it's not even just that. It's not that Carey is giving them longer. It's the nature of this season in the rebuild that they're doing. It's that they just fired the coach, and that gives even more leeway of kind of starting over and rebuilding. So I think it's just the nature of this season has allowed everyone, not just the younger players, to stay in there and figure things out. But I think it took some pressure off the shoulders of guys like Daniel Shallowy and Eric Tommy, who all of a sudden, like, they didn't hate Peter Vermees. I think they had a lot of respect for him. They understood that their performances were maybe going to get this guy fired if they don't play well soon. So it took a lot of pressure off of everyone, and it's allowing everyone to figure things out at a pace that you really need to during a rebuild. So yeah, with that being said, I think this is going great right now. I like the look of that table. It's probably better than I thought. Definitely better than I thought the day before they fired Vermees. I wouldn't have thought they would be where they're at right now. So yeah, I'm really liking everywhere this is going. I don't know what the end is for Carey. I have to imagine, Sperry, maybe you know something more about this, but I would have to imagine they are looking. There is an ongoing search. Feelers are put out around the world for coaches, but I would think that maybe this off season, the club can put a little more focus into that search, and maybe they're giving him this season, and then yeah, and seeing what happens after that.
Yeah, there is obviously they are kind of going through it in the search. Um, but I do think that like they said it was Kerry's job to lose, and right now he's kind of putting it in there that he deserves a serious shot. Um, and I think they would be foolish not to like look at other options here, but I think Kerry has at least given himself a shot to have the full-time role. And unless things go just putridly south all of a sudden here, and they end up 10, 15 points off a playoff line, like I can then all right, fine. Maybe we should maybe look somewhere different. But like I think he's given the best account of himself as a coach so far. And the players, I think the biggest thing is that the players respond very well to everything that he is trying to do, and challenges them to do. So that's That's a good sign. And do they hire a new head coach this season? Like technically they will have to in the off season. But they will for sure have to consider Carey if things keep going this way.
I mean, the perfect scenario for this season that they go on a run, they get in the playoffs, maybe win a game or two in the playoffs. If that happens, then it's going to be hard to think that they didn't kind of rally around Carey and that there's some magic around Carey that you give him another 2-year contract or something like that.
Yeah, I would have to think so too. And I mean, I think that is I heard somebody use this word recently, the ceiling that this team has, just based upon the roster, right?
That
Because
was
we
me.
know. Uh, I think I actually heard it from somebody within the team too. But yes, pretty valid. But one of the big questions still is the director of soccer operations, or whatever term that they decide to use, the official, person above the GM. Do they have to hire that person first before they make the decision on Carey? And I know some people will say they shouldn't bring in players until they know who that person is because they want to direct. I don't agree with that because I mean, in fact, I'm very, very confident that there's people out there looking at players today and talking to them for this upcoming window. But yeah, they need to make some decisions. But I think Carey is making a really good argument for having that position next year officially.
All right, let's talk about the Colorado game. Friday night, couple days removed, but everyone will be listening to this Monday morning to start their week. So Dejan Joveljic got his 12th goal. Sperry, he has at least a goal or an assist in his last 7 matches. Didn't play the RSL game, but he's been on the score sheet for 7 straight matches. Guy's on fire. He needs 3 touches a game, and he's still going to get that goal.
Yep, and every single goal he has scored this season has either been to tie or take the lead. Um,
Oh
like
wow, I didn't even
like
realize that.
it is a legitimately clutch timing from him. He scores goals when you need him. They're timely. He is able to finish with just 1 or 2 touches. It gives the argument that you should feed him more. Like for the love of God, play him the ball more. Maybe more stuff will happen. You score more goals. But at the same time, I think like this is a player that's kind of on a heater, but he also just knows where to be. Like the last 2 goals are not brilliant individual efforts from Dejan Joveljic. They're being in the right place at the right time and making the right actions on the field. So he's cramping in his hamstrings and he makes a run to the back post where nobody is. Like if you look at the replay from above and behind, like 5 Charlotte defenders suck to Santiago Munoz there and leave the third highest goal scorer in MLS this season, wide open at the back post. And then the next game, he pressures, turns out, the goalkeeper creates the mistake, and gets that cutback, and then he gets that little finish off the pass from Tommy. And just he knows how to make things happen. He knows he has the instinct to be in the right spot, and when he gets his chance, he doesn't miss.
That doesn't it feel weird that we have that guy? We haven't had that kind of goal scorer in a long time. There was maybe 4 game stretches where Polito felt like we had that guy, but this feels real. And I checked this earlier today. He is not even 26 yet. He's turning 26 next month. So we've got many years here potentially of a fantastic striker.
Or we have a really big sale to a good team in
Hey,
England or someplace,
either way, but I'm just saying this is a rebuild and we've fallen onto gold here for $4 million because the Galaxy are in shambles.
Yeah, no, Galaxy took their shot. They scored last year when they took their shot by overpaying and over leveraging and doing all the roster tricks that they now are suffering for this year. And I'm very happy for what they did. And I would love to keep Dayon around for at least a couple, 3 years and maybe then sell him. But
Yeah.
he's like money right now, man. He does not, I don't want to say he doesn't miss because of course he does, but he is on. He's deadly. He's taking those chances. He's all the like little buzzwords you want to throw out there, man. It, we need him in the lineup. I was a little bummed he didn't get in against RSL, but of course that was just a result of a red card, essentially.
Sperry, when you ask me how I think the rebuild's going, and I say almost perfect, he is a large part of that. If you're in a rebuilding year, I think the 2 big things are, find some young players, find other established players that you can build around. And he is honestly a little bit of both at this point. But yeah, he's one guy that after this year, you've done a rebuild, you've looked at some young players. Who do we keep around? Who can we build around? That is exactly the kind of guy.
You're also looking at like guys that can play to his strengths. Like
Yep.
you're looking at guys that want to play that pass in behind and make those little combinations, and will try and thread him into some of those situations in between the center back and the fullback that he likes, that ball in that spot there. So that's going to be the test kind of for the coming weeks here is like, do they have that player on the team, and do they need to go get that player onto the team that can feed him more? Because Manu tends to play a little bit over the top to him, but certainly, like you said, if you're trying to do this rebuild thing, as long as you can get goals, you're in games, and you can pick up results along the way and help accelerate the process.
They are kind of mid pack of the total goals scored by the teams.
Mhm.
Top being San Diego with 44, Sporting with 31, bottom of the pack, Austin with 14. Oh,
You know how much money they spent on their attack this offseason? Almost three times what Sporting did. And that is unbelievable.
yeah.
It is a team that's coached by Nico Estevez, but
Thad, you have Sporting at 31 goals.
I'm looking at FB Ref.
Okay. Footmob has them at 33.
mm, FBref does not have this week's games in then yet.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I only noticed that because I was looking ahead at the Sounders game this weekend and saw that we somehow have scored more goals than the Seattle Sounders this year. Let's stick with this game though. I've got a stat coming up later that we're going to talk about the defense a little more, maybe a little bit of the current and their fake tournament that's coming up. But I don't want to stick with this game here a little bit. Eric Tommy had a phenomenal game. He took that deflection, got a goal, saw the ball go in the net, started feeling himself a little bit. A goal and an assist in this one from the left wing. Sperry, he's been used in a lot of different places this year. Both wings. It's been used as a midfielder, and he's just that kind of player. I said this last week. He's the kind of player that's going to run into some of those. And that is a beautiful, beautiful goal, individual effort that he scored. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's that one of those is going to work every now and then. He gets himself into those positions, and sometimes he's going to come out with the ball at his feet and hammer that into the back of the net. It was a really beautiful goal, and I almost just kind of laughed at it a little bit.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've seen from Tommy in the last couple of games, this goes back to the Charlotte game. He is less hesitant to pull the trigger. Like he's just making his decision. I'm either going to shoot or I'm going to pass. Like that's one thing. And like I think when you finally get a player that's like quick firing those decisions and is feeling confident about it, then you end up with the results that you've got. You've got a goal, two goals, and an assist in the last few games. Like he's not overthinking it. He's just doing what needs to be done. He picks up the ball there, just kind of dribbles and says, "Oh, hey, great! I got to my spot. Let me rip this into the bottom corner," because he can. He does have that quality. He has a great shot.
Yep.
But sometimes you can see him overthinking it at the time, or waiting too long to make a decision. And I think that's kind of a point where like when he's on, and when players start to find the form and find like everything is coming in a rhythm to them, and that is where Eric Tommy's at right now.
Top Gun Tommy, all gas, no brakes, Thad.
4 goals, 4 assists this season. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm going to go back actually to something Cody's talked about a lot over the last couple of years. Is he's like a try hard where he tries to do too much.
A chicken running around with his head cut off.
I'm going to be nicer
Okay,
than that.
that's a little.
Yeah, that was in the darkest. Okay, he's 4 goals, four assists now. I think I said that in the pits of hell when everything was awful.
When he and William, upon first reference, Agata showed up, and there was really no pressure on them because Sporting was really bad and they just needed help. And he was really good. I mean, he was a very good scorer, and yeah, nobody really knew him and all that stuff. And I think the pressure, like you were talking earlier, the pressure's off because they fired Peter. Everybody was trying to help him, and he was trying to do too much and all that stuff. But now he doesn't have to be a leading scorer because Dayon's there. You have Shalwi has put in some goals. You have Santiago Munez looking like he can put in some goals. Manu every once in a while. Shoppy irritating people and getting some goals every great once in a while. But Tommy doesn't have to be the only guy. And that actually makes him a little more dangerous that he doesn't have to try as hard. He can set up other players and he can find the space and take the shot.
He can just take one pass from the goalkeeper 75 yards away, and then that's all he needs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
This is
But
this is
that's
just
reading
an,
the game, man.
yeah. This is just an MLS play, but in he has 19 goals and 14 assists in 96 appearances since coming to MLS. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
absolutely.
For a guy that we question whether he should start sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe a little unfair. But yeah, Thad, I have brought that up over the years because I felt vindicated after saying that Vermees did some town hall in the Cauldron and brought tape of Felipe Gutierrez to play and show, like, look, this is what someone can do more with less, and like used him as an example to show like Eric Tommy does try to do too much and is a little bit of a chicken running around with his head cut off. But so yeah, let's stay here with the Colorado game. Well, we do have to, like I said, I want to talk about the defense. So let's talk about Ian James Sperry and that howler of a tackle that he had. That it's one of the he just missed. Yes, a much more experienced defender just runs that out to the sideline. But this is just a case. He's a 17-year-old, new to this league, still figuring out the pace of this play. And when you step up a level, everything is just a hair faster. Everyone's just a little quicker. And he saw that ball right in front of his face and thought he could kick it away quite easy. And then all of a sudden it was gone and there's a penalty kick.
Yeah, it wasn't the best choice, but like you said, like 17-year-olds are going to make some mistakes here in how they read the game, and you hope that they aren't crucial mistakes, but that's kind of what happened there. Luckily, they were in a spot where they could have absorbed a goal. But yeah,
Only because of the post.
only because of the goalpost. Whatever like voodoo magic John Pulskamp did with the goalpost before the game on that side of the field, boy, did
He deserves
did
the
it work.
out. He must be doing something. He's on fire lately.
So it was no, a tough tackle. I just am not surprised that a mistake like that kind of happened, and that's not a knock on Ian in any way, shape, or form. It is just what you expect from a 17-year-old at this level. I think it was interesting that in that FC Dallas game, they started this really young center back against Sporting, and they were all super high and praised on how great he did, and then he gave up some absolute howlers in the next game, and had a tough time, and that is what happens when you play young players. And so the big question is like, do you keep repeating the mistakes or do you move on? And I think he'll be all right.
No, he'll be good. I think.
I do too, Thad. I like that confidence. I rarely get that flat out from Thad like this, but I do. I think I like him a lot.
Again, he still has a lot of room to grow. He will still make a lot of mistakes. And again, all you need to do is run with that guy a little bit more, or do this or do that, and it would have been fine. He made a mistake, no big deal. But he came in a couple minutes at the end of one game. He started a game, and he came in at halftime because they couldn't trust Joaquin to see out the rest of the game on a yellow. So he's getting more trust now as a 17-year-old, and they're getting results in games he's been in, and he hasn't done a header into the back of his own net.
Yeah, I think that's really perfect the way that played out. That's Kerry showing confidence in him. Hey, we can put you in here. This other guy's not working out. We need you to go in there and lock this game down. And he messes up and the team still wins. Like, look, it's not the end of the world. Everybody messes up. You can still be successful in this league. Yeah, I do. I really like if I'm just like an old school football prospect, like looking for prospects, he is just like, look at that kid. Just a big dude, sign him up. He still has the baby face and is bigger than most of these guys out there. So yeah, he has a long way to go, but there's a lot of reason to like this, and this is exactly what you want to see in a rebuild. So I want to talk more about the defense. I've got a good stat here. Actually, it's a pretty awful stat, Thad, but we're going to go to break and then come back and talk about this.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Make your next vacation unforgettable on Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Star of the Seas. It's everything you've loved about every family vacation you've ever been on, with mind-blowing thrills at the largest water park at sea, 7 onboard pools for every level of chill, more than 40 ways to dine and drink, and even more to enjoy at our award-winning private island, Perfect Day at Coco Cay. This is the new Star of the Seas. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
All right, Thad, I have a very concerning stat for you. Are you ready for this? It's not a Mike stat, it's a Cody stat.
Uh-oh. Is that accurate then?
It is as accurate as Foot Mob is. So, Sporting Kansas City lead Major League Soccer in XG conceded by a considerate margin. Their number is at 43. They are expected to have conceded 43.0 goals this year.
And how does that compare to everybody else, Cody?
The teams who are 2nd through 15th are all locked in there between 30 and 35. And Sporting Kansas City is 8 higher than all of them. So it is not even remotely close. They are far and away expected to concede way more goals than any other team in Major League Soccer.
Well, that's not a good stat. I mean, we don't want that, right?
No, we don't want that. Sperry, how do we fix this? What's the route to fixing this?
Man, I mean, it really, for the most part, it's denying service. A lot of these, they are susceptible to high opportunity or high quality opportunities. I'd say they don't give up a ton of them. In reality, they do give up a lot of them. They do give up a lot of opportunities, but they definitely give up at least like 2 or 3 just golden opportunities a game. And they sometimes.
And Pulskamp has been bailing them out.
Pulskamp has bailed them out a lot recently, but at the same time, they're getting punished for them too, and so I think like it's tough because a lot of these situations. So the highest, if you subscribe to the XG school of thoughts here, American Soccer Analysis does a really good job of kind of breaking it down with like this thing called where goals come from, and the highest XG chances are cutbacks and through balls, and the cutbacks are the thing that Sporting gives up a lot. Their fullbacks allow that space a lot. The players will get into the end line and hit that ball across the face of goal. It is a dangerous chance anytime it can happen, and that's that seems to be what teams try to do. That they're able to do that, and they're able to get those chances off quite a lot. And so I think it kind of Sporting's playing a high line at times, and so those opportunities will come. But that's kind of the biggest thing is like if they can figure out a way to deny the service more or deny entry to those areas, that would be good. That starts with the fullbacks and that starts with the midfield, more so than it does the center backs in those opportunities. Because I think once you get to the point where you can play at cutback, there's only so much the center backs can do less about it in those moments. And a lot of times those chances have to be created in wide spaces to get in behind and around the defense like that to play those cutbacks. So again, it ends up being kind of more so on the midfield and the fullbacks. And where would we identify as the two weakest position groups for this team? Right in those spots. So I think that's kind of the symptom that we're looking at here.
I think it's interesting, you talk about the tactics. I almost just look at this roster and you know what? It's not going to be good. We're going to be at the top of this list, really, no matter what this year with the roster that we have. But while we're rebuilding, I asked that question of like, how do you fix this? And I think part of that is we're playing two very young center backs. A lot of the stat, I think, also part of these sets, they've been playing better. About halfway through the season from this point, there's an entire regime change, and I don't count anything before that. That feels like 10 years ago. Nothing under Peter Vermes this season counts. So I'm sure a lot of this XG occurred in those games. So that has maybe fixed a little bit of it, just the fact that the defense is playing a little bit better. But they've got two young guys. You get two young guys who are working the kinks out, and that's also part of this. But I definitely do look at the outside back, Sperry. We've been seeing a lot of Tim Leibold with Ndenbe hurt. Jake has been bouncing around back and forth between outside backs in the midfield. And I'm going to be vulnerable here. I know people are not a fan of this opinion, but Thad, I think I would like Jake Davis to solidify our outside back. I think I want him to stay at fullback.
Why though? I mean, I think he's a adequate sub in there or fill in there, but Kyrie is there, and Kyrie has been doing okay. Again, I like Kyrie, and I'm not going to be one of these guys who hate on Kyrie because he's a good guy and he's not a bad player in a lot of regards. It's not his natural position, but it's not Jake's natural position.
Yeah.
But it's sad that both of those guys seem to get more respect in that spot than Andrew Brody, who is a natural outside back.
We haven't seen it from Brody. We haven't seen that he's the guy to solidify any part of that position.
No, in fact, it's kind of what he's had some okay games or some moments where he's been pretty damn good. But I've seen more of he makes me worry. There was one game three years ago that he was just absolutely terrible. I thought that's not fair because he hasn't been playing a ton, but at the same time, he's the guy who's supposed to be able to solidify that spot. I would rather play Kyrie there and have Jake as a backup to that, but also have Jake available to the midfield when he's needed. So I think it's not a bad argument. I just don't agree.
You said the key there for me of Kyrie's been okay, and he has, but I think Jake is better. Jake found a home in that spot. And the idea of having a guy who can maybe pass and is maybe okay in this spot, I think you only do that if someone else is a revelation somewhere else, where if that player is going to score goals and change the way we play in the midfield, then you got to get him in the midfield. And I don't know that Jake is there. That's where I was a little afraid of getting in trouble in this conversation and getting jumped on here. I love Jake, but midfields in this league are of a very high quality. And I see Jake at this point in the right back, and I think that he now knows what he's doing there, and I think he's comfortable in his gritty style of play works really well there. He knows the position, he knows the role in this system. And then when he goes into the midfield, all of a sudden he looks to me like a younger player who's still trying to figure it out, and maybe he could be okay in this spot here. So I'm not sold on Jake in the midfield, and if we're gonna in a few years, if we're rebuilding to a really good team, then I think Jake is a backup midfielder. And I think he could be a very serviceable, gritty, fun player that you have as an outside back on a really good team.
I think it's a valid argument. I just not necessarily agree. But I'm also not against Jake playing there as much as the midfield needs help. And when the song isn't there, they need somebody gritty in the middle who, of course, hopefully doesn't take red cards unnecessarily. But you know what I mean?
Hey, Basong is back. And Sperry, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. We kind of knocked on Basong a little bit on like looking at our midfield in this roster and being like, oh, and we're throwing Basong out there to combat some of these like really good midfields. Basong has been playing really well. And when he was gone with Canada, we missed him. All of a sudden it was like, man, we need Basong in there.
Yeah, I think one of the things you see from him is just like there's an energy, and he does that work that Jake Davis does, that harries opponents, tries to win the ball back and press people, and he will get the ball and go vertically. He leads the team, or when he play, I think before going to Canada break, he led the team in progressive passes.
Yeah.
And I think like that is he gets the ball and tries to get it going forward, and I like what I see from him. I like how he plays, and he is an emotional player in the kind of in the way that Jake is, but it's all that like Roger Espinoza cloth, right? Like fearless in going for the ball, high energy, gets the ball and moves, and will can at least contribute a little bit in the final third. Roger, and that is doing a disservice to what Roger could do in the final third. Way more a contributor there than Davis and Basong have shown to be yet. But like that, in looking at those guys, like that Basong is the perfect like replacement for Jake, and the fact of Basong being gone, Jake was injured for a decent portion of it and not like 90 minutes fit yet. So that's been the big thing there, is that like this midfield without has had its issues with injuries and stuff, and losing Basong to Canada, well, great for him to get that opportunity with Canada and do well with it too.
Like 3 minutes.
Sporting needs him.
Did he even play? Did he play like 3 minutes?
Yeah, he got like 2 starts.
Oh, he
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah.
Against lesser teams that they were pretty sure they would win. So I mean, he wasn't a starter against teams that they worried about, but
Sperry,
he
let
played.
me ask you this. Do you still see Jake Davis as a high quality prospect that can be a stalwart in our midfield on a highly successful MLS team?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. I I do think I can be in agreement with you that Jake might at the moment with Basong healthy and playing, Jake might, and playing at the level that he is, Jake might be a bigger help to the team at right back than he would be in the midfield, because of what it can shore up the right back position for Sporting at the moment. That game against Charlotte, I really liked what I saw out of him. I like Wilfred Zaha did nothing against against Jake Davis, right? Like, sure, the goal kind of comes from that side. It's a cutback situation again. They got him behind. They worked the overload well. They got their one moment and they cashed in, and they didn't do it the rest of the game. Because Jake shut it down. And that was one thing too that Jake shut down really well when he was playing there in 23. And so I'd be really interested to see like the Tommy in the midfield experiment in that game against Charlotte was the best chance creation I've seen Sporting have all year long. They were flying in high energy and throwing it out there. So I think Jake can do it. And I'm not saying that he can't be long term in the midfield. But right now for this team, they might need a right back might need for him to be a right back. And that is on the roster makers and the roster people to figure it out, to either get someone in better at right back or make a deeper midfield and put Jake at right back for the long term. I don't like that option, but yeah, the team needs something a little bit more solid at right back, and I don't know that Kyrie has been at the level that he was last year at that position. He's been on and off injured. Brody has not quite, Brody's been okay at best, and I think the team needs a little bit more energy there, and I think Davis can bring that for the time being. But
For those listening, his butt was just followed by a like hands in the air. That was how he put a stamp on this on the audio medium. Was a butt.
Yeah, I'm used to that with recording with him on the current pod. But that's life nowadays. That's okay. I think if you see Jake long term as a midfielder, you just mostly keep him there and only use him as an emergency right back. It's a disservice to him to put him in a spot where he's not going to be seen long term. And again, this season you want to make the playoffs, you want to do some good. it's already a bit of a lost season. You're not going to MLS Cup,
Yeah,
unless they go.
I mean, I agree with you, almost exactly what you're saying, but where we disagree is on if I see him as that midfielder, and he just has the qualities of a right back that I love, and can also, coming from the origin of a midfielder, can also be useful when he gets up front. So I don't know. I think all outside backs are not failures elsewhere, but all the best outside backs just didn't work somewhere else, or they came in replacement, and holy crap, what a revelation. This guy's great over here in the corner. Stick him over here. It's often a guy that didn't play defense, was injured, or couldn't get on the field elsewhere, and then he steps up in defense, and
it's wingers who couldn't score.
Wingers who couldn't score, like Graham Zusi. So uh,
hey, I just want to throw a twist out there. Since the team is a little bit questionable on center back depth at the moment, and we've already seen that Bartlett has played kind of that role in some games and all that stuff. What if you drop Bartlett back and play Jake and Basong as a dual pivot in front of them? And that would be a very gritty midfield right there.
That was you do realize that was the midfield that started in the Open Cup, right?
Oh, yeah, I think he was saying,
like Jake Davis and Basong together and as a double pivot was like the midfield for a significant part of last season.
I think he was saying in front of Bartlett, behind them.
Yeah, because Bartlett has the passing. He can be kind of a deep lying playmaker. He's not the best passer in the world. He's not Ilya, but at least not yet. But he can play some defense. He can step up into the midfield, and I don't know. It's just I'm not really tied to it. I'm just throwing it out there for a little argument's sake.
So, like I said, 43 goals expected goals conceded for Sporting Kansas City this year, far and away the highest. But they don't have the highest goals conceded, which would imply, Daniel Sperry, that there's a keeper that has been doing some work. Now, I will say they are the second. They've conceded the second most in Major League Soccer, still less than the Galaxy, thankfully.
So earlier, Cody, you had said that you think that perhaps some of this, a lot of high XG allowed was during the Burmese portion of this season, and it was not.
Oh, okay. What do you got?
So again, this is going off of FB refs. So Vermees era XGs allowed was 0.9, 1.6, 1.8, 2.1, 1.7, 1.4. When Carey took over, it went 1, 1, 4.1, 0.9, 1.4, 1, 1.3, 1.6, 2.8, 2.9, 2.6, 3.8, 2.5, 1.3, and 4.
Okay, so you're just looking at like a graph where the points on that graph are higher after
the average XG. I looked this up on American Soccer Analysis. The average XG
about to give me. Thank you.
The average XG on this for the time frame that Carey has been in charge is a little over 2. Of course, this 4 XG against game is incredibly inflating of that. But yes, you're.
Okay, that's interesting.
It was higher. The average for Vermees was under 2. So
yeah, it was definitely higher with Carey. Also, I've been doing some of this while we're talking. Joaquin Fernandez being in there has raised it. Basong being gone has raised it. So there's a lot of variations in there, and this is always, you can't take just pure numbers. You have to look at who was in there and the teams they were playing and such forth. So, but I think that plays a lot into it, is who was in there. So
Jonathan Pulskamp leads Major League Soccer in total saves with 76.
It's not actually a stat you want for your keepers.
Not always.
You want save percentage.
He's out there doing it. When your XG is the expected goals conceded is the highest in the league, then yeah, you want to see your keeper have the highest number of saves.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting because I think this is, it says it's the data is refreshed, but I don't trust it. So Sporting, according to this, John Pulskamp has faced 34.68 XG, but that doesn't seem right. But that could also be.
Well, I mean, all of those are going to have different XG.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. In reality, looking at you, if you want to go back and look at Pulse Camp, the post-shot expected goals is one that I prefer to look at when it comes to keeper. Expected goals meant like captures the percentage, the likelihood that the shot will be a goal based on the kick point. Post shot expected goals does so after the fact. So it takes into effect where the shot was placed and how likely it was to save for the keeper to save. You cannot have a anything higher than a zero point 0.0 unless you put the shot on the target. So this has to be a savable shot. So some chances may get XG, they may not get credited for the post shot expected goals. So Pulse Camp, this is just through the first 21 games. So if on FBref, he's faced 35.9, and the differential between what they've conceded is 0.1. So we're looking at a pretty pure wash from him, and that number was not very good at the beginning of the year, and has quickly gone the other way. So you can see it obviously in his games. If you kind of go by game look for him, it you can see that the man's been doing a whole lot in terms of keeping balls out of the net.
Yeah, at
And
least in turning that around, because I'm pretty sure what you just said is that he was exactly average. Like he's a
yes,
0.00 WAR for the baseball fans, wins above replacement. But but I think what you said was it was bad at the beginning of the year, and which I think we all knew, and that he's turned it around and been performing really well over the last 2 months or so.
Yep.
Yeah, and for some clarity's sake too, XG for Sporting has went up since Kerry took over.
Yeah.
So just because I was saying the XG allowed has went up, it doesn't mean that they're not playing better. And also because we said something nice about Vermees a couple pods ago. Somebody said that we were lamenting that he was fired. No, that's not the whole situation there. The team is playing better under Kerry. So again, not calling anybody out, but it was not the intent of whatever we were talking about in that pod. So.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back and talk about the Sounders game.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Diet Coke. You know that moment when you just need to hit pause and refresh? An ice-cold Diet Coke isn't just a break. It's your chance to catch your breath and savor a moment that's all about you. Always refreshing, still the same great taste. Diet Coke. Make time for you time.
Yep, the beauty junk drawer. Full of those used once, why did I buy this? That was a waste products. Stop adding to it. Shop at Sephora and break the cycle. Sephora only carries the hot, high-quality products you'll never regret buying and brands you can only find at Sephora, like Kayali, Makeup by Mario, Kerastase, and M Beauty. Shop the hottest beauty with no regrets, only at Sephora.
Today's top story, the flavor merger of the century between the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp. Joining me is a PBC executive.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Now, how did you know the merger and the byproduct of it, Jif peanut butter and chocolate flavored spread, would be a success?
You know, it was a gut feeling, a rumbling, if you will. Besides, they're two titans of taste.
Very true. Goes great with pretzels.
And pancakes.
Apples too, I bet. Try Jif PBC today.
All right. Seattle Sounders coming to Children's Mercy Park on Saturday. Thad, you will be at that game, yes?
Yeah, I will be there. It's a real game that counts. And there's another reason that I might be there too, because I believe they're honoring season ticket holders that have been season ticket holders from the entire time. So I might actually step out there and get some of that. I don't know. I may not too. I might just...
They're repping the OG True 96ers season ticket holders. Is that what you mean? All the way from 96 until now? How many is that? What is there, like 10 people?
I don't know. I mean, we got to be a dying brand there, right?
And
But
you guys
they,
deserve that. You get out on that field and get that respect.
but then I gotta like figure out if I can still shoot the game and all that stuff. But they'll have like the 2000 team there. I think 2000 team.
Cool.
So, or some of the people there. Obviously, you can't get them all because not all of them are still around, and some of them have a long way to travel. But they'll have some of the really old players there.
So one of our most hated adversaries, Seattle, coming to town this weekend. They are in 5th place. They've got some games in hand. Actually, you know what? Now that I say that, I wrote this rundown a while ago, and now they are in the middle of a game, I believe. So they are tied with Columbus at the moment. So that puts them still in 5th. I was right, still up to date. 5th place with one game in hand at this point. Some of the old names still doing it for him. Albert Rusnak is still there. He has 7 goals, 3 assists. Christian Roldan is still running things in the midfield. They have Danny Masovsky, who is their striker. He's got 6 goals and an assist. So it is a good team. They kind of crapped out in the Club World Cup. Didn't look too great in that one, but this is a very good team. In fact, it is always hard playing the Seattle Sounders.
Yeah, it's a good team, and they got a good coach, and they'll come and they'll play, and it's always. I mean, I know what they're like. Oh yeah, it's just a game, but I mean, they will compete. They will always be a good team under Brian Smetzer. I couldn't say his name for a second.
Smetzer, how do you forget a name like that and a face like that?
I'm old, man. I forget shit.
Someone else that looks like a guy that just wandered out on the field.
Yeah, he does, but you know he does have Kansas City ties. He was a Kansas City Comet, right?
He's a fantastic coach. I don't even mean to hate on him. It's like fun to just look at that guy. It's weird that he's this elite coach. I don't know.
Hey, you don't have to look good to be smart, right?
Sperry, what do you think of the Sounders game this weekend?
Gonna be tough. They're a team that just they don't give up a ton of anything. They are a very strong team defensively. They have they're opportunistic in the goal scoring department, and I think they've got quality players that can finish it. Jordan Morris is just starting to get healthy too, ahead of this, which does not help Sporting, because he tends to score a lot against Sporting. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where things go with them in this match. But yeah, I mean, we're talking like top 3 expected goals against in the West. Their mark is as good as the Philadelphia Union, who have the best mark in the Eastern Conference. So they're just a tough, stingy team to play with or to play against.
Like I said, we've scored more goals than them, and they've conceded way less. So
Yes, it is. It'll be interesting to see. It'll have to be a team that it'll be interesting to see what they do, because Seattle tends to try and drive or at least high press you at times here on the road, and I'll be curious to see if they do that again. That's just been kind of a Schmetzer thing, and see if they create some turnovers that out of Sporting, or if Sporting can find a way to play through them and get the opportunities. So I think it's going to be a tough match, and Sporting this is the test, as I said before. This stretch kicks off the real test of Sporting's quote unquote contendership medal. You have Seattle, New York City, Vancouver, San Diego, Orlando, Seattle again, before you play any team that's in the West that's kind of within that punching zone. So by the time you get to that August 30th matchup with Colorado, you want to still be punching kind of at that playoff line.
there are, after that stretch you just said, it does kind of calm down. There's a game against the Galaxy. There's Houston and Dallas are in there. So it does kind of calm down eventually with easier matches. But this will be a test. This is definitely one to look at. Sporting has shown that the game against San Diego, they've shown that they can play with some of the better teams. And it's hard to say. I kind of think, looking at this Seattle team, that they'll be higher up than 5th than they are now. I think they're maybe a 3rd place team looking around the league. So it'll be interesting. But if they are a 5th place team in the league, this is one that Sporting needs to see how they stack up now that they've got this new regime change and are figuring things out a little more. This is a very good test, Thad, to see where they stand. And like you said, they gotta be securing points at home. This is a fifth place team. You want to get in the playoffs, you got to get some
Yeah.
points here.
It is, and it should be a winnable game because Seattle's 2-5-3 on the road. So they're not like tremendous on the road. They're good, but not tremendous. So it's a game that Sporting should get points out of and has to if they want
Plural,
to compete.
plural points.
Yes. Plural points. So 3 for the
I will
clarity.
not. I will not be at that one. I will be at the Teal Rising Cup at CPKC Stadium for the Current this weekend. Teal Rising Cup, Sperry. What do you think of this 3D printed trophy?
I love the tournament, to be honest.
You know
I
what? I
think
do.
it's cool. I'm not I here's the thing. I'm annoyed. We'll talk about later scheduling conflicts here. But I do like the this tournament. I want to see teams from Brazil like this here. Corinthians and Palmeiras, two very fierce rivals. Coming here, you got Chicago Red Stars, and oh sorry, Chicago Stars, whatever they're called now.
The lack of
This should be
stars, they're all out.
You made them.
they it should be fun. And I think it'll be a good time out at CPKC Stadium. I enjoy these international matchups because we don't get a ton of continental play in women's soccer on in the US. So I'm
I
curious.
I appreciate that your first thought there that you stifled and it hit the ejector button on and went towards a more political answer was that you're annoyed that they both play at the same time and that you can't go to both games and that you can't play in the media game. It was just a very selfish thing. You went right for yourself and how it impacts you. That's the kind of guy I know.
Oh boy. Here's the thing. Made up tournaments like this are fun. They are good exhibition games, but maybe scheduling events that require that
The Seattle game,
pull
come on.
pull media too um, during a game that actually counts for something is not the greatest look.
Yeah, I'm actually with you when you say tournaments like this because yes, we have spent a lot of time talking about the made up tournaments and the more tournaments that they're at and the 3D printed trophies and all of this on both men's and women's. But this one I'm kind of on board with. The Current accomplished this incredible goal of getting this stadium built. They are looking ahead. They're trying to progress this league forward. They have the cool thing in town and they're trying to make some money. They got to make some money back here. And if you just want them to stop playing for a month in the middle of the summer when everyone's excited about soccer and you just want our players to just be sitting around doing nothing, well, our fans are excited. They want to come see this team play in their new home, in our new home. So let's make this turn. Let's invite Palmeiras and Corinthians and beat up on the Stars too while we're at it.
I have no problem with them having the tournament. It's just the timing of going up against the crosstown team in a game that matters and that they've had on the schedule for a long time. That's the only issue with it. And then again, doing the media game, which will draw a bunch of people out that you typically don't watch soccer anyway, because that's usually like half the media that shows up for these things is people who never show up to the soccer games, and they'll come out like, oh wow, yeah, look, this is special, and then they don't see them for the rest of the year anyway.
Actually, I feel like that one gets more because they're like the cool thing in town, so that gets even more people out there that don't follow.
It goes for all of those type of media games, but I don't have a problem with it, and I think it's kind of cool that they, like Sperry said, a couple of very good Brazilian teams, and you can see how they stack up against them. And they should have all their players back for the most part for these games, so it's all good, it's all fun. It's just it's a bad timing.
And you're gonna go watch the actual meaningful game. It's hard to miss a Sounders game. You always like playing the Sounders. Those are always fun games. The Cauldron always gets up for it.
I detest missing any of these games, man. I hate missing either of these type of games. It's just I have to go with the one that means more at that moment.
I didn't know you were going to be honored, and I just learned that you were going to be honored during this game. Service as a Sporting KC and Kansas City Wizards fan, and the Wiz fan. Sorry.
One of two honor setups that will be honored this week.
What's the other one?
The 2000 MLS Cup champions.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, it's those guys will be there, at least some of them. That's more important than maybe some of us season ticket holders, although we
How
stuck
many do
around,
you
they
think?
didn't.
Seriously, I asked this earlier. How many do you think? How many human beings on planet Earth could possibly make this list? A season ticket holder from 1996 to 2025. How many
Probably
people? I'm saying single digits. I'm
like
going
no.
six.
I know I know at least two others. I mean, but that's just the ones I know. Maybe three.
It's double digits, but we're talking probably under 30 people. That's
Damn.
my guess.
If there's 20 people out
That's
there,
my guess. I'm not saying don't take that as gospel. That's just my
Yeah.
guess.
I don't know. I've asked this question before, and they say the answer is always not a lot.
yeah, if there are 20 accounts out there that have existed since the KC Wiz in 1996, I'm gonna be blown away.
Well,
Okay.
you won't know because you won't be there.
Yep.
Burn.
No, I will be getting the MVP in this media game and winning the Temo Chewinga signed jersey that the MVP will apparently get.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
motivated.
Will you get a plastic trophy?
Ooh, maybe.
Hey, and I want to be fair because we made fun of the 3D printed trophies last year in what was it, the Women's Cup? That looked
Yes.
It was terrible. This is supposed to be a real trophy for the Teal Rising Cup. I don't know what it actually looks like, but
What makes the trophy real? Does the production process?
yes, the production value makes it more real.
It
Yes.
must be forged and shined by an armorer if it is to be a true trophy.
If I can print one in my basement corner here, that's probably not the most serious trophy in the world.
You got a
But they
3D
did,
printer?
huh?
You don't have a 3D printer.
Yeah, it's right over there, man.
I got one in my basement too.
No, I'm lying my ass off, but I'm just trying to make a point, and you're calling me out on it.
We don't use ours. My roommate printed ice trays with the Chiefs logo, like in the shape of an arrowhead. It's the one thing anyone ever did with that thing. That's it.
But I think the smart thing is they bring in two really good Brazilian teams, and those players look at this and go, "Hey, maybe we'd like to play up here with Lorena and Bia and Dabinha and Lowe and etc."
Well, they better be good because we got some ballers up here, and we were talking about that the other day. There are free agent spots open, like they have roster spots open.
Not, I mean,
not really.
They don't have roster spots open. They have like all these players that are quote unquote free agents are like they're here through the season. Like this is not as one article I saw put out about it made it sound like they're all free agents right now, and that is not the case.
They can start signing with other teams. They can't go play for other teams. It's the same for the men.
Yes.
Like starting in a couple of months, they any player that's out of contract at the end of the season can start signing contracts with other teams. So, yeah, I forget the exact date, but they like Eric Tommy can go sign a contract with some other team and leave at the end of the year. So he's already out. I mean, he'll be out of contract. So just as an example. So it's the same for the KC Current. Same thing.
Yep.
So Thad, a trophy that is anything but 3D printed. It is made of gold. The U.S. men are taking on Mexico here very shortly for the Gold Cup final. Do you want to give your prediction on this that will only sound dumb if you're wrong? Because I'm not going to be able to get this edited and posted by the time the game has been played.
2-1. You had called me out last time on it, but hey.
Okay, well, how about just from a macro perspective? Sperry, are you happy with what you've seen from this not full roster of the U.S. men this Gold Cup?
Yeah, I think it's been good. They've also done what I've expected them to do. Like every single game, I look at the opponent and I say this team should win, and they've done that. Yeah. I don't know that I say that about the Mexico game per se, but like as long as they make it close, interesting, entertaining, I will feel good about it. The A team beats the crap out of Mexico like 9 times out of 10. So like I'm not sitting here thinking like, oh, this means the world. No, it doesn't. It's fine.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that. And the result of this game doesn't change it. So that's why I felt okay asking these questions. I mean, if they could beat 6-0, that's going to really suck. But I think I did see enough in this tournament, especially just after he lost to Switzerland and everything that came after that. I saw enough from this team, and and from Poach and Diego Luna that I've seen enough and I like it. And it's not the full A team. So whatever happens in this game, I think it's at least not the doomsday that it seemed a couple weeks ago.
How tall is Diego Luna?
Not very.
I mean, they were just. I mean, because I have the game up on the TV over here on my other computer, because it's just they're doing through the national anthem and they're like showing Luna, and then they have to keep going up to the players.
Camera had to go down.
Well, I it started with him and then went up. So I'm not trying to make fun of him. It's
5'8".
not. But man,
5'8".
he looks so short compared to those other guys. He looks so small.
That don't matter. Just ask Lionel Messi.
I know it's not making fun of him. It's not.
He's scoring some Leo Messi goals, man. That one was absolutely beautiful. Exciting player. That's the kind of thing what you would want to see from a tournament like this without the A team. Want to see some guys establish themselves, show some dominance. So
I wish Sporting would have went and got him, quite honestly, because he was playing in USL.
Yep.
With the El Paso Locomotive, right? So they could have went and got him.
San Jose had his homegrown rights. Can you imagine having the homegrown rights to that guy and not signing him, not being able to pull him in any way, shape, or form, and telling him out of the academy that you didn't think he was ready for a pro contract?
It's like Chelsea getting rid of De Bruyne.
Bad team, stay bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they even have a good team, Sperry. Look at the players on that team. They should be so much better than they are.
Now they have a good team.
Yes, and they're still
3
not
years
that good.
ago. 3 years ago.
They're like seventh place or something. They should be so much better. That roster is crazy.
The last 2 years, they could have really used a Diego Luna. I mean, they're not smart. They have not been smart. I'm not going to say they're not now with Bruce there, but so speaking of people who could have played for teams, Mateo Bunbury scored twice on SKC2 this weekend.
I see he's still playing in MLS Next Pro.
Well, he came back to it after a little not playing so great in USL. So...
I don't mean to. I'm not trying to dunk on him necessarily, but I think that the narrative surrounding him is just ridiculous at this point. Absolutely ridiculous. He played in USL. He didn't do great in USL. He's back in MLS Next Pro, which we all have seen through the Open Cup is a cut below the USL. The hand wringing and the what ifs. What if we had just kept on to Mateo Bunbury? Well, you'd have Mateo Bunbury still playing for SKC2 and MLS Next Pro.
Actually, he was still around. He would be on he'd be on the first team, and he'd be a backup winger, is what he would be at this point. I think he would have been a better player if he had stayed.
Would he have given more goal contributions to this team than Marino Shanice?
Wolf.
Yes.
No. I say no.
Johnny's contributed like 2, so I think
more than 2. He had like almost 10 goals in his time here.
Yeah. Different. Yeah, no, I understand. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Barry's thought a lot about this one. You could see it in his eye.
He lit up when he wanted to ask that question because he wanted to try to catch me, and I'm good with that.
He had that argument in front of his computer after reading someone else's tweet, and so he was fully prepared to unleash it upon you.
Just ready. Noted Marino Shanice defender, Daniel Sperry. Okay, he had 6 goals and 2 assists in 25 games in 3 years in Kansas City.
Yeah, and Bunbury would not have been starting, but that was the problem. Is his family wanted him to have a homegrown contract, and they weren't ready for that. I don't blame them for that. I do wish they could have kept him around because I do think he would have progressed better if he'd have just stayed with the team and worked his way up, because he would have been practicing with the first team at times and such forth. So he would have been probably better, but he was not the point where, oh my God, he was the answer. No, he did score 2 very happy goals against his former team yesterday, though.
It is a great name. That's my only regret. I love gathering all the great names. Daniel Sperry, thank you very much for joining us. Thad, you want to leave us with something prophetic?
I'm okay with Mateo having not stayed.
Okay, there we go. You won him over, Sperry. All right, Sporting.
Don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.